All right, everyone. Well, we're going to get started here. Thank you all for coming. It's nice that we have a tighter group because we could have more interactive demos today and show you AI in real time. So today we're going to talk all about the 3 steps to choosing the right construction technology for your company, particularly for AI. So who are we? My name is David Mill. I'm the CEO and founder of Scelta. We're a construction technology company. I worked in construction for 3 years prior to starting the company for a real estate developer, general contractor, a lot of multi-unit developments and hotels as a project coordinator. So I saw a lot of the manual paper and pen and Excel processes a few years back, and then started Scelta to remedy a lot of those.
Yeah, my name's John Langlois. I graduated from engineering and software engineering, and then now I'm currently the CTO at Scelta. Been there for about 2 years now and helping implement systems for the built world.
So who are we and why are we up here speaking today? Well, over the last 3 years, we've had about over 2,000 people onboarded to our systems. We've done about 2 billion plus in projects that were either managed or marketed by our systems. And thousands of decisions are made every day using our systems for contractors, real estate developers, and suppliers.
So here's what we're going to be going through today. So we're going to define the difference between a tool and a system. Then we're going to go through 3 steps that you can use to implement tech in your company, which is capture, organize, and apply. Then we're going to go where most go wrong with AI, a few common things that you can solve today. We're going to go through a live demo, and that will be something that each of you can participate with your own company. So if you want to start thinking about things that you may want to contribute or get AI to analyze, that would be a good time. And then how you can apply AI today. It's not something that's going to require a year, something that you can pick up tomorrow if you really want to.
So let's just start with a question. Can everybody raise their hand if they've ever used ChatGPT before? Almost everyone in the room. Now, follow-up question. Who here knows what GPT stands for?
Generative AI. ChatGPT?
Just GPT. You got the first word, generative. Who's got the P?
Predictive.
Close. Pre-trained. And the T. Transform. So, what does that mean? So generative basically means it creates the information that you're looking for. Pre-trained means that it's trained on millions of data points and websites, so it can provide the answer to you. And then transform means that it takes those data points and transforms it into an answer with context, so you can have a conversation with it. And that's really the basis of AI. We all use ChatGPT, but really it's just generating on pre-trained information to provide you an answer like a conversation.
Yeah, so starting with tools and systems. This is something we wanted to explain right away because it builds on the whole foundation of AI. A tool gets a job done. It's something like a drill, it's a hammer, it's something that's supposed to do something. A system makes those jobs repeatable. So you can imagine a tool like a piece of 2x4 and a pile of it scrambled together. And then you have a system, which is how are you going to put that together and frame an entire wall? So much like in today's world, tools can be drills, they can also be AI. And systems is going to be the entire way that those are stringed together to make a process come to life.
Now, everyone has an opinion on what the best tool is. I'm sure you've heard of many AIs out there, but in reality, it's one that your team actually wants to use, and I'll show you why. Let's give a bit of an analogy. So there are many different tool companies out there, as you can see up here for drills. There's also many different AIs, but in reality, you just want to make sure they do the right job, and it's all based on preference. Gemini is a great tool. ChatGPT is a great tool. They all perform similar functions, and we're going to explain to you today which ones are better for certain activities and why they all kind of perform the same task for you. So, where do most people go wrong with AI? So AI is all about context. Has anyone watched the movie 50 First Dates, by chance? Few people in the crowd? So he has to go on a date and reintroduce himself every single time. Well, it's sort of like if you go to AI and have to reintroduce yourself every time, you're going to have a pretty tough conversation. It's going to be frustrating. So if AI doesn't know you, if it doesn't have any context, then it's not going to give you the best response. You need to teach and train AI who you are, who your company is, to get the best response out of it. Otherwise, you're going to be like Adam Sandler.
So we run into this issue called the context gap. So the context that we're talking about is really the surrounding neighborhood that explains why a house lives where it lives and everything that encompasses it. So on the one side, you have your contractor, you have your day-to-day operations, you have things that you have to deal with manual paperwork. And on the other side, you have tools like new AIs coming out, ChatGPT, that are promising you, we can get you drawings done faster, proposals done faster, scopes of work done faster. But it feels like you have this big gap in the middle of you actually trying it out and getting it to work. So this is why it can actually feel useless most of the time. And we've tried it before. You try to ask it for something like a proposal, but it gets too generic. It brings up building codes from another city, and you just kind of get frustrated. You feel like this isn't living up to what it's supposed to be. But what it's really missing, it's the context. It needs to know your company. It needs to know who you're proposing to. And then that's where context comes in and bridges that gap.
So where does context come from? The best context actually comes from your team. So it comes from your foreman, your office staff, your project managers, your site supervisors, the people that are doing the work every single day. And really, it's all a matter of interviewing them and understanding, what does a day-to-day look like for you? What does a crappy day look like? What does a good day look like? Because all those interviews and all that information is gold to then train your AI that you're using.
So here we go into the 3 steps. Very simple. You capture, you organize, and you apply it. This can work for teams of 3 people or 100. We've implemented, we've done it before. Same size applies for smaller companies, big companies, the same process is in place. So here's the first step would be capture and how we can do that.
Yeah. So let's go back. Oh, looks like, there we go. Okay, so first thing is capture. So how do you capture? Well, if you sit down with your site supervisor, or if you're a supplier and you sit down with your shop floor manager, you have to understand, walk me through a chaotic day, right? What does an ideal day look like? What does a bad day look like? Same with your admin, same with the owner of the company. If you're the owner, which I'm sure many owners are sitting in this room today, even just recording yourself talking about your company, what are your values? What do you want to be known for? Who's your ideal customer persona? And what tool you can use for that that's free is actually called Otter AI. So there's a free version. You get 300 free minutes a month. And basically what it does is it'll transcribe what you're saying, and then it'll be able to ask questions about that after the meeting. So if we have this meeting today, we're going to record the whole thing. We upload that to Otter. We can then ask, what did David recommend that we do? What were those 3 steps? And it'll immediately give you those 3 steps. It'll also summarize the meeting, give you your key action takeaway points, and then send them off to your team. So if you're going to use any tool to record meetings, there's many out there. We highly recommend using Otter. We don't go into a sales meeting, we don't go into a job site meeting without turning on our Otter at all times. So it sort of eliminates the fact that you have to bring around a notebook or a notepad or take any notes yourself. Now, what are some examples of questions? So I'm just going to give you a few examples of questions. As you can see up here, where do things usually get stuck, missed, or redone? Because what this is doing is AI is then going to give you suggestions in every single facet of your business, right? So what information do you wish you had sooner? You know, when something goes wrong, how do you normally find out? These are all different examples, and the nice thing is when you're having an interview with one of your team members, naturally these questions will start to spark better conversation and further questions down the road, which will just become further training data for the AI.
So second, it's organizing. You have all this data, you have all these transcripts, and now what do you do with it? So we need to have one place for how your business actually works and runs. So you take in these raw transcripts, and another tool that is also free that we recommend is Google Notebook LM. You basically put all this in, and the difference with this is that it doesn't just use general internet knowledge. It is scoped specifically to the documents that you input. So you don't need to worry about it making up stuff that it's not included. So why is this so special? It's because of the studio capabilities that you can generate all of these specialized things like training docs, SOPs, slide decks, quizzes, custom reports, videos, podcasts, mind maps, anything you really wanted to. So what's this really cool is that you can use it for project kickoffs, you can use it for your team, you can use it for safety, for scheduling, it's really up to your imagination how you want to use it, but it allows you to see this in not just text, but in different ways. So that's why we love Notebook LM and why we really recommend it to group everything in one place after you've gotten all the transcripts.
Yeah. And again, there's this false notion that AI is really expensive, when in reality, all the tools we're suggesting to you today are all free. So you can start using them immediately or tomorrow. And the idea here is, to give you an example, this presentation we're doing for you guys right now, majority of it was generated by AI. And I'll tell you how. So we actually sat down, we interviewed each other on how we want to present today and what we want to tell you guys. We're in a room with owners of businesses, we're presenting AI. AI will then create 1 slide deck, 2 slide decks, 3 slide decks, 4. It actually took us till slide deck number 6 that we had the version that we really liked, tweaked it, got it ready, but you can do the same thing. And it could be an impressive client presentation, it could be an internal team presentation. So as you go through this deck today, just understand that a lot of this was generated by AI. It's great. So, now we've told you a lot, but we actually want to test it live today. So does anybody in the crowd want a free head start on using AI? And basically all we're going to need is your company name and your company website, and then we're going to upload it to the AI and show you how it works. Any volunteers? What's your name?
I'm Logan Stuckhart.
Yeah?
And my company's Kaiser Enterprise.
Cool. And what do you guys do at Kaiser?
So vertical integration, we do, practically we could be a general contractor. I work for Universal Piping Industry, so mechanical contractor, but we have 10 different companies under the umbrella.
Cool. Well, that'll be great for this. So let me just make sure I got your website correct. Kaiser Enterprise. Is this you guys up here?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to take this website. I'm going to go into Notebook LM quick. I'm just going to duplicate this. Go here. And now, as this is loading, I'm using that Google Notebook LM that I told you guys is a free tool that you guys can start using immediately as well. So in here, I have different options. I can upload files about Kaiser. I can upload websites, YouTube videos, my Google Drive, or your OneDrive. Or I can just simply copy and paste text and train this AI about Kaiser. So I put this in, go to websites, just paste the link, insert. So what it's doing now is it's training itself on who Kaiser is. So it's scrubbing your entire website to understand what you guys do, who you do it for, and a little bit about your company. Is there any other online documentation we might be able to pull from?
Probably Universal Piping Industries has its own website.
Okay. These guys here?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Matches your jacket, perfect. Okay. Let's put that in. Okay, now that's generating a slide deck right now. We're gonna generate a mind map. Now, give me an example. Do you normally deal with customers? Do you deal with suppliers? What does your day-to-day look like?
Customers.
Customers, okay. So let's say I am preparing a presentation for customers to present Kaiser. Now, when you normally pitch clients, you like to show them some past work, you like to show them what your offerings are.
We have like a set PowerPoint for marketing.
Yeah?
That I'll bounce around for.
Okay.
For whoever client, leave it open for them to talk.
Cool.
How we can provide them value.
Let's say you're presenting to me. So my name's David, and let's say you're doing a pitch deck for me, but you just finished a great meeting with me. Then you would record that, upload it here, and say, my ideal client is David, and David's a software company, but I think he could work with Kaiser.
Yep.
And you just kind of throw that in. You can actually build me a personalized presentation in minutes, and then fire that off to me. So I'll let that sit there. You have 2 options. You can either do a presenter deck or a detailed deck. So a presenter deck is sort of like that nice salesy looking deck, versus a detailed deck is really good for internal teams. Now, what you can do here is you can have an audio interview. So you can actually create a podcast about Kaiser, and it'll be 2 people talking about your company, and you can ask questions. So I'm just going to show you that here in the audio overview. And you can create a mind map. So what is a mind map? A mind map is basically like an org chart. So I don't know your company yet. I just was introduced to a minute ago. But this is your entire mind map of your company. Your corporate identity, your scale and stats. You guys have 10 companies, 1,600 employees, 1.3 million square feet of manufacturing. Here's all your capabilities. Here's all your equipment. Is any of this wrong?
No.
Cool. Good. I'm always worried when I ask that question, but are these some of your major projects that you guys have done?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that's generating. Now, let's say you had a new person joining the company or joining the team. You could create a quiz or flashcards, and you can actually train the new hire or the new client about your company. So I'm generating now 6 different documents for Kaiser, right? So the idea is here, we just did this demo with Kaiser, but any of you guys in this room, just go to Google, Notebook LM, hit the link, go inside, type your company name in, copy and paste your link, and just copy it up to Notebook LM. And then just kind of play around, right? Create a deck, create a presentation, and you'll be amazed with what it can create in minutes. It looks really impressive to clients as well when you come back same day or next day with a really cool presentation. We've done it for every client recently. And you guys are ahead of the curve because people are catching on to this now. But I'm going to give you a bit of a quick presentation on here. So I'm going to test you real quick. What are the 4 in-house resources does the Kaiser Enterprise team process for project examination?
Execution.
That would make sense.
So we have 48 cards that we can go through, and basically you can do this type of training. And the cool thing is you don't only have to do this for your company. You can also do it for projects. So if you have an upcoming project, you want to upload drawings, you want to upload a scope of work, you want to upload any type of design docs, you can do the same thing. So what we do with a lot of large contractor teams is before they kick off, say, a battery plant in Windsor, they would upload all their documentation, have their team sit in a room like this, and then quiz them and test them. Be like, how you guys are about to start this job next week. How well do you know it? Do you know what the underground looks like? Do you know what the safety procedures are? Do you know where the muster point is? Do you know where your schedule is? And all this information lives inside these flashcards. So for you guys on site, if you have sites right now, you can just put up a QR code on the wall. So as soon as your team or your trades walk to the site, they just simply scan the QR code and they have an entire brain for your entire company right there. It's kind of cool. I'm just going to see this deck real quick. So
The one we already have made too.
This one here?
Yep.
So I'm going to go back to the presentation real quick, and I want you guys to scan this QR code. So we just built a company brain live, and that's loading. But now we actually built a project-specific brain QR code. So we just did a test Michigan project, just like a custom home. And we put the design docs, we put the schedule, we put the scope of work, we put the safety procedures, we put the contact list so that you guys could test it for yourselves. So if I'm out of the way, this QR code, you scan it, should just quickly pull up your browser. Everyone got a chance? Cool. Anyone still? Cool. Okay, it looks like all the phones are down, one phone. So what we're doing here is, this is a test project. So I showed you what it can do with a company, and we'll go back to Kaiser in a moment. But now I'm going to show you what it can do with the test project. So this is the test project we created. So let's ask, what is this project? So this is an Oak Ridge custom home that we're just doing here in Brighton, Michigan. And I'll just quickly let you listen to the podcast about this project.
This is the brief on the Oak Ridge Custom Residence Project. So what's the deal here? We're tracking a big luxury custom home in Brighton, Michigan. And it's a flat-out race against the clock to get the family moved in by Christmas 2026. Okay, first up, the specs are all about high performance. We're talking a tight, energy-efficient envelope using zip system sheathing and 2x6 walls. Inside, the finishes are precise, thick and navy kitchen eye.
So before we listen to all that, what is this trained on? This is trained on 6 documents. So we uploaded the scope of work, the finished selection sheet, the project contact list, the project schedule, the job site safety rules, and then the client contact information. Now that's just documentation about the project that you can simply upload, and it'll train the AI on that project. Now let's say you wanted to see a video about this project.
All right, everybody, thanks for coming. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to the official kickoff for the Oak Ridge Custom Residence. My name is Jason Miller, and I gotta say, looking around the room, I know we have the A-team right here. We're all here today to get on the same page and start building something truly special for our clients, the Thompson family. So let's just jump right into it. To make sure we're all starting this race from the same line, we're gonna cover 6 key things. We'll start with the vision, the why behind this build, then who's on the team and how we're gonna talk to each other. After that, we'll get into the fun stuff, the scope of work, then walk through the master schedule, lay out the rules for the site, and finally, we'll talk about what a win actually looks like for all of us. Okay, first things first, the vision. You know, any great project starts with understanding why we're doing it. We're not just slinging lumber and drywall here. We are literally building the place where the Thompson family is going to make their memories. Thinking about it that way, well, it changes things. It means we have to bring a higher level of... Now, look at that last line, March 15th, 2027.
So just
And of course, the most important people here are our clients.
Just kind of skip through, give you guys a few
In a
ideas.
high-performance home, starting from the outside.
So let's just quickly go back to the podcast. Now I want to show you
Island
this.
with a waterfall quartz edge, plus smart home tech and
your
EV
phone.
charging points. That kind of detail means the rough-ins have to be absolutely perfect.
It's just on your
Second,
phone.
the schedule.
that?
On your
Even
phone.
with all that complexity, this is a massive sprint. Construction kicks off mid-April.
Okay. Now let's quickly see the roadmap. So the AI had no idea what the selections were. It's just showing us the selections right now on this sheet. So if you're sitting with that client, you present them with this presentation, you present your team with this presentation, it'll take all those materials and it'll pull from the web, right? Because we talked about context. It has millions and millions of data points online. And what it's doing is it's pulling those names of the materials and it's providing them on the deck for you. So as you can see, this would take quite a while. If anyone's good at Canva, you might have created one of these in the past for your clients, but this will do it for you instantly. So you no longer need to have to use that. There's sort of the chain of command, communication protocols, site safety, and an instant Gantt chart. Right? I know many of us here have used those before, but it'll create this based on the schedule that we provided to it. Now, let's just quickly go back to Kaiser. Okay, so our decks are ready. Okay, so for yourself with the Kaiser company, here's the deck that it created for you from a sales standpoint. So just with your website, it quickly prepared all this information. So if you're working with the client, if you're working with the supplier, you want to get to know this company real quickly, it's a great way to take that information and turn it into a visual. Because many of us here are visual learners. There's your project lifecycle, Kaiser Enterprise, your data centers. Does that all look pretty correct?
Good.
Cool. There's another one. Now, the thing is, say you don't like the deck and you want a different version. You can also change the style, you can change the text, you can change the content itself by uploading, say, your brand guidelines. So if your company has a set of brand guidelines, just simply upload those to the LM to train it that every time you create a deck or you create something, this is what I want it to look like. And then it'll follow suit. And I promise I didn't create these before we got here. These were all created on the spot. So real quick, let's go back to that construction project. So you guys saw that QR code. Now let's say I'm walking up on site and I'm about to start this project, but I have a few questions and I can't get a hold of the project manager, I can't get a hold of the owners. The coolest feature of this all is you get a free AI tool right here that's trained on 6 sources. So let's say we had a question. What's a typical question that might get asked about a custom home build as a contractor?
When will the framing be done?
Great. Okay, so it's scanning your sources. So according to the schedule, it'll be completed on June 16th. So it'll tell you when it starts, who the contractor is, and what the prerequisites are based on the schedule that you uploaded. Now, let's say you want to see, okay, where did that come from? See these little ones next to the answers? Those are sources. So if you want to quickly check, this came directly from the schedule here. You can click on it, or you can just hover over it, and it'll show you the exact section in the document where that answer came from. And again, guys, this tool is free, right? One of the most powerful AI tools in the market. Yes?
So you create a PowerPoint presentation, for example, and you want to change some words. Can you download it as a Microsoft PowerPoint and edit it, or how would you change it? Can you type into the AI and say, change this or change that?
You can get very specific with the prompt, but you're limited to how many characters? 250, 500.
It's not more, it's mostly about the page limit that you run into. So usually what you do, have to download as a PDF, and then use Canva to try to usually put shapes all over it, put text, and redo it, because you're working with a PDF. Currently, it's limited right now, but I can probably tell you that in 6 months, this is going to support Google natively. So it'll go right away to PowerPoint, to Google Slides, yeah.
Yeah. One thing you could also do is if you're crafty with Canvas, you can always export the presentation, upload it to Canva, and then you could put a box on top of the text that you want to change, match it to the background color, match the text. Gets a little bit crafty, but that's also an option to make it look like your brand guidelines.
Or you could type it up in the AI generated tool and say, hey, change this or change that.
Exactly.
Give or take might change.
Yeah. To give you some context too, it usually takes about 6 decks before you get the one that you want. We just continually prompt it, and you can do as many as you want. So that's the demo there. Okay. Now, let's go back to what makes AI fail versus what AI likes having. John.
Yeah, so we can see here that for us to generate those decks, we needed clear inputs, clear rules, clear context. We needed a system, and we knew it was going to work because we had the right context. Now, if we tried asking ChatGPT just the same question without any documents uploaded, it would have been just a mess. And that's kind of what we say at the bottom there, that AI without a system is just faster chaos. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to the results we got because we had random files, undocumented knowledge, inconsistent processes, and some of this just ask Jim process, which you guys might know. You have that one guy on site who just knows everything, and everything lives in there. So AI doesn't know that. It just needs the documents, and it can produce everything you need. So that's really bridging the context gap that we talked about, is putting that in one place and analyzing those documents to give you exactly what you needed, right? From there, we would have been able to create standard operating procedures, training manuals, safety sheets, everything that you needed. So choosing the right software. As soon as you start thinking, how can I implement this in my company? And this seems like a big task. You have to go through so many areas. Your company is massive. Where do we even start? We always pick the high impact areas. People come to us, they ask, Dave, John, where do we even start? Always sales, operations, admin, and then your hiring and your training. The one that's gonna take the most bandwidth will be these, and then everything else can kind of follow suit. So sales, what can you automate with this? Your proposals, follow-ups, your intakes. Operations, there's questions, there's drawings, there's schedules, just as we just showed you here. Admin, you have invoicing, change orders. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Claude and Excel update that just happened, but basically within this AI, you can upload Excel sheets and then have it analyze your financial statements, break that up for you, group it together, create new financial models. So that is something that's innovating by the day. Mm-hmm. And then hiring and training, right? Onboarding documents, standard operating procedures, all documentation that were taking people maybe weeks to complete. Now you can do it in minutes. And then as soon as you look at these areas, you need to find where information is repeated, mistakes are expensive, decisions are slowing things down, and knowledge is living in people's heads.
Okay. Now we're going to go back to the specific tools that you could use. So it'd be good to take a photo of this because these are all tools that we use every single day and majority of our clients use as well. And I'll kind of run through them. So everyone asks us, like, what are these AIs really good for, right? What are they best for? ChatGPT is really like your writer. If you're someone that needs writing, if you need proposals, you need better emails, then ChatGPT is definitely your go-to, as long as it knows you. And what do I mean by that? Has anyone ever read on ChatGPT does anyone create projects on ChatGPT? Yourself, yeah? Yeah? You guys do? Yeah, that's great. I'm very glad you're doing that, because not everyone does. So for all the new people in the room, I'm gonna ask you a weird question, but have you ever seen the movie 50 First Dates? Yes? So not creating projects is like 50 First Dates. You gotta reintroduce yourself every single date. But if you create projects, and I'll show you a screenshot of what I mean by that, then you can create a financial project, you can create a scope of work project, you can create an internal HR project, and then that'll be trained every time you go back to that. So what do I mean? All those cool conversations you have with AI, every time you finish a good conversation, just simply drop it into that project, because it'll just continually train that project on what the topic is. Now, Claude, so John briefly mentioned Claude. Who here creates income statements monthly for their company, or has someone do that? Monthly? Does anyone do it yearly, once a year? I was like that when I first started too. Basically, what you can do is go to your bank. All of us have online banking. Just export your credit card statement or your bank transaction statement. Sign up for Claude. Make sure you have a pro account, because then your data is not shared with the World Wide Web. But put it in and then ask it to create you an income statement. And it'll be amazing what your result is, as well as categorizing your credit card expenses. So many of us go through credit card expenses. We just went through it as a company as well. And you can just simply upload them and then say, can you please categorize these expenses for me? And it'll take all your transactions and it'll give you total transaction number, and which credit card expenses are your highest. It just takes seconds. Next is Notebook LM, which what we showed you guys. I think this is the most important AI tool in 2026. This is your company brain, but it can also serve as a project brain, meaning you can either use it for internal training or you can use it for external training. And what that means is you can upload drawings, but you can also upload SOPs, so standard operating procedures. But the best activity you could do, if you take away from this presentation today, is to download Notebook LM, start interviewing your team members, and upload it to Google. The insights you'll get will be fantastic, and the visuals that you'll be able to provide your team will be instant. Next is Lovable. Has anyone heard of Lovable in here? Lovable? So if you want to create a quick, cool landing page, Lovable is your go-to. It's basically an AI prompter where you simply just type in a command. You say, this is my company, this is what I'm presenting, and I'm trying to present. I'll give you an example. We had a contractor who wanted to start a maintenance plan. So that contractor, he told me his maintenance plan over the phone. I was like, do you mind if I record this? So I recorded what he was telling me over the phone, and I just simply uploaded it to Lovable. And then a few minutes later, I just texted him, hey, does this website look good? It's like, that's exactly what I was trying to say, just visual now. So Lovable is really cool for creating landing pages and sales presentations on sort of a intake form, lead generation, and you can actually private label domain it. So none of your clients or nobody will know you're using AI, but it's built with AI. And I'm telling you, our entire website is an AI website, and it took us maybe a quarter of the time of what it would take to do it manually, and it's far more superior to what we could have done manually, even at these really expensive marketing agencies. Otter AI for meeting recording. There's different ones. There's Firefly, there's Granola, there's Otter AI. We highly recommend Otter AI because it's free. You get 300 free minutes a month, and it's best for recording your meetings. So just to summarize it, you got your writer, your analyst, your company brain, your web designer, and your scribe. It's sort of like having a full team that's just on the web that works 24/7. Context.
So here's what Dave just talked about. Here are your context projects, and you just want to categorize these so you make sure that whatever AI tool you're using, it always remembers your conversations and the topics surrounding that conversation. So yeah, don't let AI forget you. Build those projects.
So that's what that looks like there. For those of you who know the projects, it's just you just hit the plus button, you create a new folder, name that folder, and then simply drag and drop your ChatGPT conversations to train that folder.
So these are very important questions to ask before buying. So we're not here to just tell you go out, buy everything, because we know that can be expensive. You need to assess your custom needs and see, first, does this fit the flow? Is this actually going to integrate into the current tools that we have currently? Is the data ready? Do I have enough data to give into this, or are we just going to start and then have to start a data collection process? Will the crew actually use it? This is probably the biggest deciding factor. You can have all the cool tech, but if your team is not willing to use it, that initiative is going to run afloat. Is it repeatable? Can you then take that first tool that you implemented and then introduce more tools to kind of build up that system? And does it solve a specific problem? Now, it is very cool to go into the hype of this, but will it actually solve a business need that you have? So if you can't answer these, don't buy it.
Now, how do you get people to adopt it? Well, adoption is earned. And just to kind of give you guys a bit of stats, we've onboarded over 2,000 people in 3 years onto our systems. Boots on the ground, meaning we've actually met them in person. And how we did that in the early days was we would actually do sort of a rewards-based system. So if you're actually using the technology and you're a crew on site, we use it for the whole week, we show up on Friday with pizza and beer. And that was a good way to kind of get them on board. But adoption is really earned. And your team members will be more interested in using the software if they're a part of the process. And what do I mean by that? If you interview them, like if you go to your HR department, if you go to your admin, if you go to your site supervisor, and you say, hey, I really want you to be a part of this technology implementation, I want to hear what your day looks like. And then when you go ahead and build that AI and then provide it back to that person, they feel like, wow, I was a part of building that. So I'm really interested in wanting to use it. Versus just coming up with a cool, flashy new AI and saying, you're using this now, right? They may or may not use it, but if they feel like they were a part of building it, which is probably the best way to build it, there'll be a lot higher level of adoption, at least what we've noticed in our experience. And all these photos just today are all real people, real onboardings with our company.
So what does success look like? It really depends on your expectations. So we see two sides. You have someone getting started and someone looking to get ahead. For someone getting started, success is getting everything just in one place. It's about the first stepping stone of using these systems is putting this all together and using Notebook LLM like we showed you. Another success is it's becoming easier to understand and thinking of ways to apply it. So hopefully that's what this presentation, if you're in this stage, is what helping you to do of, I can actually start thinking of ways I can use this in my company. And actually, you're using it consistently for more than emails. So this is kind of what we want to take away from this is this has an approach for people who want to get ahead right now and for people who are just starting. Yeah. Now, for someone looking to get ahead, you're actually committed to one platform consistently. You decided to take that, you went through the questions, you passed the test, and now your company is ready for it. You're actually using it consistently. Your team is following through. And through that, you see that time loss and operational bottlenecks are actually going down. Things that you thought were kind of capped in your business now are starting to take off because you have more free time. And employee buy-in is increasing. And we usually see this in companies that employees start having suggestions like, hey, this would actually be really cool for this system. This would actually be a really cool new feature, or we could do things differently. So when the company starts seeing that and seeing a future with that, that's when you see success.
So what does consistency look like? I'll give you a real example because everyone in here sells to an extent to someone or a client, right? So I'll give you an example of our company. Every meeting we have is recorded with Otter AI. So that's AI tool number 1. We then take that transcript, upload it to Google LM. So that's AI tool number 2. We then generate a slide deck. We share that with the client. Client responds back with feedback. We take their feedback. We then put that into ChatGPT, into our sales project. We say, now generate a proposal. And that's just rinse and repeat every single client interaction. So that's what consistency really looks like. So the whole team knows if you're having a sales meeting, you're using this tool, then you're going to use Google, then you're going to use ChatGPT. And that's sort of, once you create that process in your company, you see people actually committing to it, that's when you know you've won consistency. So if we can ask you guys to do one thing this week after you leave this meeting, is to have at least one interview with one person in your company, record that interview, upload it to Google LM, and then have one improvement in your company. Whether that's an HR division, whether that's sales, whether that's operations on site, whether that's your shop floor. If you can do that one thing, I think you'll definitely take value away from this meeting. Now, the biggest fallacy is you don't need to be technical to win at AI. How many people here think I went to school for software engineering? Nobody. Okay, cool. So I actually studied Italian language and culture and then founded a software company. But if it wasn't for AI, I wouldn't have been able to do that, right? It's because all of us in here have the most important skill set, and that's that we're problem solvers. Because problem solvers who are constantly looking for solutions are going to be the ones that are winning at AI. It's not the software engineers. John, who's a very talented and skilled software engineer, 90% of software engineering nowadays is enabled through AI and AI-assisted coding, right? So it's really those who can define the problem the best and are constantly looking for the solution that are going to come up with the best solution, right? And how does the best solution come up? With the best context. So the more time you spend talking to your customers, talking to your team members, and gathering that context, the stronger use case of AI. Now, John mentioned if you're just using ChatGPT for emails right now, you're barely scratching the surface of what AI is capable of. Now, people will say AI is the future. I don't agree with that statement. AI is right now, right? And people are afraid that AI might replace their job. But it's not the people who replace your job. It's the teams that use AI better that will. So the teams out there that are in your similar industry that are leveraging AI are just naturally going to be faster. They're going to get back to the clients faster. They're going to have quicker solutions. And speed is everything in this market, as you guys know. Clients want everything done yesterday. So if there's anything I can leave you with is it's happening right now. I wouldn't wait. I would start now. Now, we promised to give you guys something free today. So we actually documented everything we told you guys in the meeting today. If you just scan that QR code, it'll take you to this book. And this book will give you the 10 wins that you can apply to your company immediately. So that's Notebook LM, that's Otter AI, that's all the software tools that we talked about today.
If it takes you to the top of the page, you can just scroll all the way down, and it'll be there as soon as you put your email.
Yeah. Okay, perfect timing. We want to now open up the floor to any questions specifically about AI, construction, context, interviews, anything you guys might have.
How do you make money?
How do we make money?
Yeah.
We have 3 divisions. So one is for contractors, which is called the Contracting Operating System. One is Naldo, which is a real estate development division. And one is FDE. So COS is where we come in and we talk to your contractor team. And then we upload your operations, your sales, your habits, and your systems. So we'll either use our own technology or leverage other technology and make sure it gets implemented into your company properly, and then coach you on an ongoing basis. So we meet with you once a week to make sure that you're leveraging the technology to its fullest potential. And also tracking is your revenue increasing? Are your followers increasing on social media? And what we do is sort of like an embedded operation system in your team. So that we're sort of like your third party that you can reach out to if you have any questions about technology or systems. And then if there's any real estate developers in the room, we provide full packages for real estate development. So if you have a set of drawings, you want to bring those set of drawings to life, you can create a set of renderings, virtual reality tours, websites, brand identity. And then what we'll do is put together that entire sales package for a real estate developer so they can go to market and get pre-sales and pre-leasing. And then our forward deployed engineering is for larger growing teams. And that's if you need a dedicated engineer available at all times to then help you implement systems into your company and implement technology properly. So it's, I don't love the word consultant, but it's sort of like a third party that is your reliable team that you work with.
Do you guys have something that will replace like software like Builder and things of that nature with that?
We did actually build our own software for field management. But nowadays, with how fast software is being built every day and new technology is coming out or a new AI is coming out, what we're actually doing is spending more time vetting the current softwares that are on the market and then either installing those for the company. So what we'll do is we'll interview you and see, are you using Builder Trend? Is it the right tool for you to use, or is there a better platform for you out there? And we'll go and scour and find that and then come back to you with the best solution and say, you know what, Builder Trend's not quite right for you, but we did find this other platform that is. Yes?
Have you tried to use AI for drawing takeoffs, things like that at all yet?
We did, yes. It's very good at recognizing text on drawings, but not as much with recognizing symbols, only because all architects have different symbols on their drawings. So every time it gets a new set of drawings, it may think a light fixture is a door because it's just different from architect to architect. However, I recommend something like a Bluebeam. If any of you guys have ever tried Bluebeam, is a good takeoff software. Because what you can do is it'll do a full scan initially, and then you can rename all the different elements and say, that is a light fixture, or that is this, and then that's a pretty good one. I'd also just try Notebook LM as well and upload that, and then get at least an idea of how many rooms are there, how many square footages are there. As long as there's text on the drawings, then it'll give you that information. But symbols, I wouldn't rely as much on symbols yet until AI gets a little bit further ahead in the process. Yes?
Out of the programs that you guys had kind of mentioned throughout the process, if we were to, say, take a couple of different proposals for comparable scope of work between different contractors or other developers, what program would you guys recommend to be used as an option for, say, comparing the two of them? You've got two of them that should be quoting you the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But you want a second set of eyes to be able to say, okay, analyze this with me. It's 160 pages of legal information. Between the two of them, who's giving me what for what price?
Yeah. Do you like seeing comparisons in a table or in a written format?
Either or. I've got different people at the company that like one way or another.
Okay.
So, I'm open to both.
Yeah.
I like table formats a
Yeah.
little more now, but I'm open to it.
Okay, so if you like the table side, I'd recommend Claude. Claude is probably your best at preparing you a comparison of a side-by-side and just uploading both contracts and just giving it the prompt that I've uploaded 2 contracts. Can you please create me a comparison table of what's missing or what's different between contracts? And it'll create you 2 really nice columns that you can then export to Excel or you can export to PDF. And then that'll give you your comparisons and give you the differential. Or if your ChatGPT knows you well enough and you've trained it on who your company is, then you can also create a specific project for that client or for that scope of work and then use that as a training tool as well. But that'll be more written format for people who like written format. So I'd either pick Claude or ChatGPT for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like using agent mode on ChatGPT and doing the same thing as a project and creating your own agent by uploading files to it and building that?
I find the one thing I don't love about the agents is they're difficult to share amongst team members. If you have a company account for ChatGPT, I find the foldering system to just be a bit more superior because you just have the chat bar at the top and then you have all your documents below. And then at least you know exactly the sources that it's being asked questions on. If you do want to go as far as building an agent and then seeing what that looks like in terms of responses, it's really your preference. Both do similar things. I prefer creating folders on the side and then going to those folders to ask questions about the topic.
Okay. And then have you ever used NAN to like automate using your agents at all?
Yes, John is very well versed in it.
Yeah. It's usually what first thing we do if any client wants to look for an automation. That's usually the first thing we do to prototype it. We really like using it, and a lot of AI companies are coming out with their own. I know ChatGPT has it, so it's a good way to get from email automations, text automations, daily reminders, things like this. So yeah, we really recommend it if you want to get a little bit technical, but not too much, and have some automations in place.
Yeah. It's probably the best automation platform for a non-technical user because a lot of it is just drag and drop.
Yeah.
And you can see the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
How would you go about if your company has an AI policy that they, I guess, would be afraid a little bit of the integration and the security risks? How do you pitch other ones like Notebook LM and other being able to utilize them all?
Yeah.
100%, yeah. I have actually a friend who's a security officer at Ellis Don, and he goes through this every day. He talks to me about the AI policies he goes through. And it's really about showing how the tool can be safe. So Notebook LM, for an example, right? If you guys have Google Workspace, that is something that's automatically included in your plan. The data is not being trained for your company already. So it's something that's immediately safe to use within the Google environment. So that's something if your company wants to start, they can already move to a Google Workspace, and that's what we chose to do, so none of our data would be shared. You need to look a little bit the background of the company, see if they have some certifications in terms of security, and then just try to pitch it from a lens of understanding, like, is this gonna fit our ecosystem, and is this actually reliable? And I think they'll actually appreciate that, of you coming forward with already the security concerns and how we can mediate those. And that should probably get you at least a foot in the door with a conversation of moving this forward.
Yeah. Another thing too is it's all based on domain name. So if you have a Google workspace and you have a certain domain name, for example, ours is scelta.ca. So we couldn't actually share any of our projects with you, even if we wanted to, unless we had a personal account that we then shared it with. So it's sort of a nice safeguard of nobody can share any of those projects. You could also remove their sharing capabilities only if they have your company's email signature at the end of it. That'll actually let it share to them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You played around much with CloudBot, I think it's MoltBot now, to like create a virtual AI employee sort of thing that can do its own multi-step stuff and have more of an impact than you typing away and telling it to do things every single time.
Yeah, I've actually been looking at that. It's just come out like past 2 weeks, and it's been crazy stuff that people has been running. For people that don't know, this is basically like an AI that you can install, even like a random computer, like an old computer you have, and it runs just on that machine, and it basically can automate things. And you can set up, Telegram or like WhatsApp or message, and that's how you talk to it. And then from that, it has access to the entire computer, and it can like do scheduling. It can just take over and do whatever you ask it to. So that in itself is dangerous if you just let it do whatever. I know that people have done it in their own computers, deleted the entire drive, deleted sensitive files. So right now, I think it's a pretty early stage. Actually, Claude, like the one we showed you, is banning people from using their LLM with this because they don't know the effects yet. It's kind of that Wild West of the AI world now compared to how it was. I wasn't alive back then, but like when the internet first really was coming out, the web, people could really do anything, and then regulations came. I see that the state of this, these agents that can kind of do whatever on your computer. But something that I really want to check out by the end of the year, that could be something that we implement now, is you have your personal scheduler that people just text, and then it can then take your entire computer and run a personal assistant, really. So that's kind of the way that AI is coming, is actual AGI, right? Artificial generative intelligence. So that would be exciting for this year.
And that's really why we made the transition too, is we spent the first few years of the company building software. And then we spent 6 months trying to build our own AI. And then a few weeks later, Google came out with Notebook LM, which is a very similar software where we were uploading drawings and trying to get answers about those drawings and uploading scopes of work, getting answers. And then Google's like, oh, we did that, right? Because all these large companies, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Google, whether it's Meta, whether it's ChatGPT, they're coming out with new tools every day and they're squashing all these smaller AI tools, right? All these VC-backed companies that are losing all their investment because the large language models are just like, well, we can build that in a week, right? We have the team, we're paying engineers $100 million bonuses. They should be able to build that in a week, right? So our whole idea was to transition to more of a service-based company who understands AI the best and understands contractors. Because I really think it's the subject matter experts like yourselves that are the missing link between the smart engineers and the site, right? It's the people who know what's happening. And I think that's where the gold is. And that's what we try to extract and then utilize the AIs to make sure that you can use it to its fullest. Yeah.
How did you get clients into your company when you first started?
Yeah, well, having worked in construction project management for 3 years prior to starting the company, I had really good relationships with a lot of the subcontractors. What I would do is actually go to their office, go to their site, back of the pickup truck, and interview them before AI kind of was coming out. And I'd say, like, what kind of app do you want? And it was sort of like an a la carte, let's build you an app kind of idea. And so what we did was, everyone heard Procore? We had many Procore users who were like, this software has way too many features. Can you just build me one with like 6 features? It just clocks in, clocks out, checks my schedule, and then I can upload a daily log. So we started building simplified versions of field management software. And then Avery, who's standing right here, would take photos of all the interactions and all these happy contractors, and then we get them to give us a verbal testimonial, and then we'd post that online, and then we do it the next week with another person the next week. And we sort of like kept building up to about 60 companies and got past the 2,000 person mark. But our whole niche was we're boots on the ground. So all of our advisors said that's the worst idea ever, you guys are never gonna scale. But we spent all of our time on site because we realized that contractors don't care if you send them a pretty looking email or you give them a call or you do a cool Zoom call. Like, you gotta be there, right? And that's why we're here today, right? We wanna meet with you, and I think there's that level of respect and fear when it comes to technology. So unless you know that person face to face, I'd say our number one selling factor was, you know us and you know where to find us. And if it breaks, you have a phone call. So that's really how we started scaling on the unscalable. Yeah.
You mentioned sending over a slide deck. I think after the first call, is that just like your proposal? What are they giving you feedback on? I'm just curious about the business process there. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nerding out on the details, but.
Yeah, no, I'm a very visual learner, and I find if I have a great conversation with you, I want to turn it into a visual. So I'm not selling you anything. I'm just showing you that we just had this great conversation. Now here's what it looks like in a deck. Just so like you remember me. So the next time that you go to think about picking someone else, you remember like, oh, that person provided me a really cool deck. And it's sort of that muscle memory of like, that's a nice, looking presentation. And everything that you and I are talking about today would then create sort of an animation, right? So it's sort of like, I think it's a good selling factor because it's sort of different than everyone else. Everyone else will send you a long follow-up email. I'd rather just show it to you in pictures. And then we've noticed that deck then gets shared around the team. Like, oh, this company created this cool deck in like 2 seconds. They must be so fast, when it's really thanks to AI. But I think it just gives you that edge over all your competitors. And people will appreciate your visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that why we started doing this is because we came together and we realized that it's not about what you actually do for people. It's really how you make them feel.
Yeah.
So if they feel like you're fast, you actually cared about the conversation, to turn into a piece of art, right? Something that you can show them like, hey, I really like our conversation. And here's kind of like a gift that you can have and look back on. And I think that's what Dave is saying. You'll remember that feeling. You tap in when you look back at us again and that level of care that you have, even for someone that you're just having a single meeting with.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you an example. We have a client who has an 800-person organization. And every time we go meet with him, it's a 3-hour conversation. And all of his team members are like, I can't imagine talking to him for that long. Like, he's got all these crazy ideas. But I'm like, he's not that crazy. Like, if you just see what the deck looks like of what he's trying to say, so you can actually take the visionary's ideas and bring them to life. So when we started meeting with him for, say, 3 hours at a time, everyone's like, you're crazy. That's such a long meeting. But no, we just took that 3-hour transcript, dumped it into AI, and then sent him back the presentation. He's like, yeah, that's what I meant. My team doesn't even get this, but you guys get it, right? So it's really good for visionary people. Yeah.
You mentioned scheduling with AI.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a preferred or best that you've seen or used, or for like out of office hours, scheduling and stuff like that for leads?
Yeah, I can speak to Google LM, and then I'm sure you have another idea. But on Google LM, if you start to put in your schedule, and then every day you sort of have like a summary of what happened on site, and you continually feed that generation. So if you get sort of like a daily log from your team of what happened that day, and then you upload it, you can start to ask questions like, based on what happened today, how is that going to affect the schedule? And are there any prerequisites that need to happen before the next thing happens?
Sorry, I didn't mean scheduling for the day. I meant scheduling for like leads. Like when we generate a lead at 11 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
There's automations in AI that can schedule with that person at 11 o'clock at night if they're engaged with on Facebook or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys have anybody like that?
Yeah, another a tool that we use is actually on Google Suite. So we actually made the transition from Microsoft to Google. There's many reasons for that, and I'm happy to explain them. But on Google, if you go to your calendar, you can actually create a link for clients and then link it to your website. It'll link to your calendar, your salesperson's calendar. You can link it to as many calendars as you want. And then on the spot, it'll actually say, these are the available times. Like George is available at this time, George is available at this time, and they can book on the spot. So that reduces friction.
Yeah.
And then you can give them the option to either meet in person at your office or meet online. And then they can just select the option. And you can even, if you want to put a paywall, you could, but you don't need to. But then that just becomes an embed on your site so they can book on the spot.
What about any, an AI calling people or any of that stuff? Is there anything like that is good out there?
There are many of those.
Yeah.
I find people don't like them as much because if any of us have talked to an operator before, it kind of sucks sometimes.
It does, but if somebody's engaged at 7 o'clock at night, I don't have somebody 24 hours a day. It's probably better than nothing, right?
Totally, yeah.
So I don't know if there's a best one out there. Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, to something like that, we haven't worked too much with those. We have built some in the past, smaller types of clients. Like they would engage, it would be a text message that would be custom with the company's culture, and then it would be able to book them. So at most times we were able to build a custom. So something like N8N that we just mentioned, it's just this, you can just connect these little processes that happen and then just set up that automation yourself.
Yeah.
So that also something we've been exploring.
Another option is actually a chatbot on your site that provides the actual answers in context faster, because sometimes people don't necessarily want to pick up the phone per se, but they might want to just quickly ask a question and get an answer. And then that will provide the documentation that you feed it. So you could always have a notebook, for example, QR coded onto your site or embedded into your site. That way they can ask questions and get answers just like they would on a phone. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you like Google more than Microsoft?
Well, I'll go through a few reasons, but so Microsoft Teams, has anyone ever had trouble getting onto Microsoft Teams? Yeah, a few nods in the room, yeah. Just the compatibility on Microsoft Teams, like getting online and having clients be like, I can't get in, or the link's not working, that was really annoying. And then having to get your AI co-pilot to join Microsoft would oftentimes break for us, because you'd have to like invite it as a guest. So you invite your AI as a guest, and the guest wouldn't show up sometimes. You tell the client, like, wait, we got to wait for my AI guest to show up. That was a bit annoying too. But when you can create a Google Meet online now, there's just a little tab that says, ask Gemini to join immediately. And you just tab that on. So then it immediately joins your meeting without you having to invite it. And it'll generate a transcript and a summary of the meeting and automatically folder it into your client folder without you even having to touch anything. So that
more functionality with Google, with like artificial, like AI than Microsoft, you'd say?
Yes.
Working better together?
Yeah. Even this Google LM tool alone, I would pay whatever amount of money that Google wanted to charge for it because it's that valuable, but it comes with the suite. Copilot, not the most friendly if anyone ever has tried it. But Google just comes with so many tools. And I have a theory on Google. I think they're one of the most powerful companies in the world. And they purposely don't release some things because they're like, we just don't want to take over the whole market. But I really think they have the most powerful software and the most powerful team behind them. And if you notice, there's Google Keep, there's Google Tasks, there's all these. You ever hit that icon in the top where it like shows you 8, 9 different apps? When you actually click into those apps, the connectivity between your email and your inbox is insane. Like if I edited a doc and I sent you that doc, you don't even have to read the doc anymore. Just say like, this is what David changed immediately, right? Or if I send you an email and it's a long email, you just be like, they have a Gemini pop out and you're like, what is this email actually saying? It'll just give you the high level points. Like it's,
Do you pay for Google Suite then?
yeah. It's really not too expensive either. Like it's something like for our team, 10 users, it's $150, somewhere around that a month. But highly recommend Google. Yeah.
We're just a few minutes after 9 o'clock, so probably 2 questions, and then we'll have to wrap up, unfortunately.
We can go until someone kicks us out too, if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, so for automation, you mentioned NAN. What about SAT here? Is there a benefit to either one, using one over the other or something like that you know of?
So N8N, why we personally like it is that we can self-host it. So we can put it on our own machine. We can own our workflows, our data that goes into it, and we can pay less too, because if you pay for the cloud version of N8N, it can be a bit expensive. And Zapier has some abstractions that maybe are easier for beginners, but maybe it wouldn't do some of the things we wanted to specifically. But it's really about what connections it has inside and what you want it to do and how custom you really want to get to. But like all of these AI, they're tools, right? So they just need to fit your workflow, and whichever one fits, that's the one, and you actually use, that's the one that should work for your team.
Yeah. N8N's also a lot easier to use, I find, than Zapier.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm an honorary AI guy, and you were talking about Gemini. A lot of people that I talk to have the Gemini platform, I can see it in the background. Would you be able to explain the main benefit with Gemini maybe over Otter AI? Because Otter AI was the first one I was exposed to, so that's the one I currently fall back on.
Yeah.
Are there any benefits or major misses that Gemini maybe doesn't have that Otter had provided?
If you like to listen to meetings, I'd recommend Otter. So John, actually sitting right here, is our chief growth officer, and he listens to all of our meetings and provides us with feedback. So I find if you're a listening person, I'd recommend Otter. But if you don't mind just reading a transcript and getting key insights, then you could just go with the Gemini platform. I don't mind looking at transcripts. Gemini doesn't necessarily do, you can listen back to certain moments as well as Otter does. And but it's mainly a listening thing. It's a preference thing. But Otter is a quite impressive platform. They came from Stanford. And what I like the most feature about it is what the key takeaways are from the meeting. It's really cool. Yeah. And privacy is a little bit better, I'd say, on Google than it is on Otter, because Otter's dangerous sometimes, because if you invite everyone to the meeting and you don't want the meeting notes to go out immediately, Otter has a tendency to just fire them off. There's actually a doctor in, I don't know if it was Windsor or Toronto, but used Otter for a medical appointment and it sent to the wrong people, and that was a whole Globe and Mail article, but I don't know if that turns you off Otter. But if you make sure to invite the right people, just be cautious of who you're inviting to the meeting and who it's going to afterwards. Gemini just does a really good job of only sending it to people on your team and not the client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can check out scelta.ca, SCELTA.ca, and you can see our 3 divisions. And in all 3 of those, there's a talk to us button. So if you want to talk more, you can schedule a meeting. We're actually using the Google Calendar feature we just told you about. And yeah, we'd be happy to talk more.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.